Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. Joining me in studio is Ray Ora.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Jonathan Voico's here.
Good morning.
Chris Carr is here.
Hey, y'all.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, or question you'd like us to address, and as long as we deem it, appropriate to be addressed on our show, we'll answer it in the second part of the show. And here's the good news about the tip link. It's good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So yes, if you're watching live, send in a question. We'll get to it at the end of the show. But if you're listening to this show on our podcast feed, either on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching this video a little bit later in the day when we're not actually streaming live, you can still use the tip link, send on in a question, and we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that down, let's get things started here, shall we? We're going to begin with this. Of course, Deadpool and Wolverine, it now has an official Disney Plus launch date, November 12th, like 2 weeks from now. It's going to be on Disney Plus. You will be able to watch all the void hijinks that you want on that day. Now, look, I think even though Inside Out 2 is the highest grossing movie of the year, and well done, congratulations to it, marvelous movie, I still kind of think the movie story of the year is Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, it shattered so many records, and it so exceeded, well, so did Inside Out 2, but it so exceeded the box office results of the previous Deadpool and Wolverine movies, or Deadpool movies. There were a lot of people when Deadpool 3 was coming out that did not think this movie could be $1 billion film. And it's kind of understandable why they would feel that way. I mean, Deadpool 1 didn't make $1 billion. It made under 800 million, close to 800. Deadpool 2 also got close to 800 million. So if neither one of those, my argument was always, when I would say that I believe this movie would be $1 billion film, was, yeah, take that almost $800 million for both of those films. Add to the fact that Ryan Reynolds is now more popular today than he ever was. Add to the fact that what everybody wanted happened. It's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now, which is what everybody wanted. And maybe the biggest element of that is that Hugh Jackman was coming out of retirement as Wolverine after the years-long faux feud between him and Ryan Reynolds on Twitter. And I would say to people, you don't think those things equate an extra $200 million? Like the other Deadpool movies pretty much cranked out just about 800 million. You don't think all that can just do 200 million more? And sure enough, it did cross the $1 billion mark and then some. What was the final number? Like it was like
1.33 something.
$1.33 billion, completely eclipsing Joker as the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. By the way, the first Joker and Deadpool and Wolverine, still the only two.
1337.
1337. Still the only two R-rated films in history to be in the $1 billion club. And on top of that, it was awesome. Critics loved it. Fans loved it. Everybody went back to watch it again and again. I may or may not have learned the dance. Maybe yes, maybe no. I'm not going to say anything. But I mean, it was just huge and it had massive cultural impact. I've already seen, Ann and I went to a Halloween party and like already several Deadpool and Wolverine outfits. Ann and I have Deadpool and Wolverine costumes. It's just incredible. And now it's coming on to Disney Plus, and this will be a huge boon for them. Chris, I don't think there's a lot of movies that many movies can make a big splash on streaming. I think the number is smaller though, the movies that can come to streaming that will then make a lot of people go, I'm not a subscriber to that service, but I will now become a subscriber of that service because this is now dropping on it. Mm-hmm. I think Deadpool and Wolverine is one of those. I think Inside Out 2 is one of those. I think this is going to be one of those. And it's just the impact it had. Anyway, it's coming now November 12th. Why did this movie make such an impact, and why is this such a big deal that now it's 2 more weeks and it's going to be here on streaming?
Oh, man. I mean, I think it just ticked all the boxes, right? It does a good lampooning of Disney, of the strikes, of the comic book universes that we've seen, and does so in a loving way. It does it in a way that is, I think, still respectful to fans, but also if this kind of movie is not your jam, if you're not a comic book person, if you don't think that comic book movies are cinema, it absolutely plays into that too of, hey, yeah, this isn't highbrow stuff all the time. Although we are going to hit you with some heartbreaking moments. We are going to have some really beautiful, real things happen here. It kind of just touches everything, right? Deadpool would love that. He touches all.
And everywhere.
And everywhere. And everything. Yeah, he's a Michelle Branch song. So I think hitting streaming also is a really great move for Disney right now, because in 2025, their pricing is going to increase.
Yeah.
So this is
again.
Yeah. And so this is a great time to start dropping stuff to go, oh, no. Remember how we hit you with the quality again this year?
Right.
Why don't you get on the streaming service? Have you loved Agatha? Guess what other shows we have coming, which I know we're going to talk about later. But I think this is a really great strategic time to drop this.
Sure.
And I know I've said it before on the show. I'm not looking forward to this movie getting ruined for me, though, because I know Logan's going to just have it on repeat as his new comfort film.
Oh, so's Anne. Yeah. Anne's going to have it on repeat.
This is going to be the ASMR in our home for the next 2 months. So apologies for me slowly drifting into madness.
Anyway, it's coming now to Disney. And by the way, did you see the I don't know if you already put it up, Jonathan, but the announcement image is perfectly. Get it? It's a urinal and says now streaming. And the little Deadpool and Wolverine.
They wouldn't let a perfectly good pun get away.
No.
That's
why you got to be careful with that splash.
Yeah.
You can't make that get away. And I also love.
Yeah, they're making a splash.
No, I'm not. Red on your shoes.
In their press release, they repeated the thing. Disney and Marvel proudly presents their biggest mistake to date. Deadpool, I love the fact that they use that terminology. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I am curious. For those of you who are watching who may not be viewer or may not be subscribers to Disney Plus, is Deadpool and Wolverine coming to the service enough for you to go, I think I might sign up for it now? I mean, maybe Inside Out 2 has been great. Agatha has been way better than what people expected it to be. Deadpool, now we got a big thing. Would you sign up just for this, for one movie coming to it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Joker 2 sucks. I mean, this is kind of a universally accepted and known thing. It was an awful movie. And again, I say that as somebody who absolutely adores the first Joker movie. I really like Todd Phillips. I thought the performances in the movie were very good. I think Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix delivered on the performances of what they needed to do. Unfortunately, they had absolute garbage material to work with. Whereas the first Joker movie, every single scene, every single moment was layered with allegory and layered with commentary and layered with observation and layered with every moment of the first Joker movie is just so rich. Not so much Joker 2. It was an absolute waste of time. Anyway, there is somebody who really loves the movie. One of the greatest filmmakers out there, Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino has come out and said he absolutely loves this movie. Loves it. And that's great because all film is subjective, right? That's great. Some people are going to love some things that everybody else hates. I have movies that I really like that everybody hates. You have movies you love that everybody hates. Same is true as Quentin Tarantino, right? But what got interesting is Quentin Tarantino's comments about maybe people who didn't. This comes to us from IndieWire. Let me go back to an earlier part here. Quentin Tarantino said, I really, really liked it. Really, a lot, talking about the Joker movie. Like, tremendously. And I went to see it expecting to be impressed by the filmmaking, but I thought it was going to be an arm's length intellectual exercise that ultimately I wouldn't think worked like a movie, but that I would appreciate it for what it is. And I'm just nihilistic enough to enjoy a movie that doesn't quite work as a movie or that's like a big giant mess to some degree. And I didn't find it an intellectual exercise. I really got caught up into it. I really liked the musical sequences. Good for you, Quentin. I got really caught up. I thought the more banal the songs were, the better they were. I find myself listening to the lyrics for once in my life the way I never did before. Now, this is where he starts talking about people who didn't like it. The Joker directed the movie. The entire concept, even him spending the studio's money. He's spending it like the Joker would spend it, all right? And then hits big surprise gift, haha, the Jack in the Box when he offers you his hand for a handshake and you get a buzzer with 10,000 volts shooting you. is the comic book geeks. He's saying fuck you to all of them. He's saying fuck you to the movie audience. He's saying fuck you to to Hollywood. He's saying fuck you to anybody who owns any stock at DC and Warner Brothers. And Todd Phillips is the Joker. Unfilmed Joker, all right, is what it is. He is the Joker. All right. First of all, again, let me reemphasize, all film is subjective. I don't think anybody should have any problem with anybody who loves Joker 2. Fully I do, right? I hated it, but that's okay. Art hits us all in different ways. And especially when you have an auteur like Quentin Tarantino, I've got a feeling there's going to be some wacky things he either doesn't like or does like. That's great. Nothing wrong with that. But here's the problem. Here's where I have a problem with Quentin's words. Quentin, who is like one of the great filmmakers of our day, okay? I don't think anybody's going to refute, even if you don't like his movies, you got to acknowledge he's one of the great filmmakers of our age. He's amazing. But there seems to be this false narrative out there that I keep hearing people trying to preach. Tell me if you've heard this in other circles. But I keep hearing people making up this excuse saying, people just didn't like Joker 2 because it wasn't comic booky enough. They just didn't like Joker 2 because it didn't meet their expectations for what a comic book movie is. And that seems to be what Quentin Tarantino is saying too. He's saying, this is a movie that's a fuck you to all the comic book fans. Here's the problem. Did you watch the first Joker? The first Joker was nothing like a comic book movie. There was nothing comic booky. It was as grounded and as gritty and as real as you can get, that just so happened to have a character in it named Joker. But it really defied all conventions of what we expect from a comic book movie. And yet, being completely unlike what anybody would have expected a Joker movie to be, we all loved it. Not all of us, clearly, but I mean, a lot of us loved it. Not because it was so comic booky, because it wasn't. It wasn't comic. It was the most uncomic book movie I've ever seen. And yet, so many of us loved it. Why? Because it was a great movie. It had so many of the things that Quentin Tarantino has in his films. Subversive messaging. Great, interesting characters. Observation layered throughout. Maybe not quite Quentin's wit that Quentin brings to his thing. So this notion that, no, people, fuck you to comic book fans. The comic book fans are just mad because it wasn't comic booky enough. There was nothing comic booky about the first one, and we loved it. All we didn't want a comic book movie for Joker 2. We just wanted another great movie like Todd Phillips gave us in the first one. That's all we were asking for. And the reason the fuck you comic book fans and people like me did not like Joker 2 was because it didn't have any of those things that Quentin Tarantino does put into his movies that makes them great. The characters were now suddenly flat. Listen, the performance of Lady Gaga was great, but the characterization of Harley Quinn, it wasn't that she wasn't enough like the Harley Quinn from the comic book. No, she was just a lame character that made no sense even to the own internal logic of the movie. The character just didn't make sense. The movie had no point. There was no purpose. There was no allegory. There was no observation. It was just nothing. It was just, okay, the events of the first movie, and then this happened. That's all Joker 2 was. Joker 2 was a post-credit scene tapped on to the end of Joker 1. That's it. That's all it was. Now, if you watched it and you appreciated it and you liked it, good on you. That's awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But this whole thing about, the comic book movie fans are just mad because it wasn't a comic book movie. Now, this movie's a great fuck you to comic book movies. Quentin Tarantino notoriously does not like comic book movies. But, I mean, I don't know. I gotta say, I was kind of turned off by Quentin's comments here. I mean, not that he came out and said he loved the movie. I expect that from Quentin Tarantino. Totally quirky, totally wetter. And if it worked for him, that's great. But then going on to say the things he said after that, I thought he should have relented a bit. Anyway, Chris, you read Quentin Tarantino's comments. Truly one of the great filmmakers of our age. But what did you make of his comment here?
I mean, my personal preference always is I don't need to absolutely shit on somebody else's shit. I know I've been guilty of that in the past. I try not to. But this, him talking about him loving this movie is filled with so many backhanded compliments. Like, the more banal the musical numbers got, the more boring and tedious and awful the musical numbers were,
The more
you
sucky
liked
the
it.
movie was, the more I liked it.
That's interesting. And I have had other people, because full disclosure, as you all in this room know, and as a reminder, you guys at home, I didn't like the first one. So after you guys went and saw the preview and had your review, I went, I'm not going to watch it till it comes on streaming.
Right.
I don't need to spend my time doing this. So I've had a couple people tell me, no, Chris, I really think you should give it a go, especially if you go in with the lens of, this is a commentary on what we expect as moviegoers from our comic book properties. And Harley wants Joker to be this version of who she thinks he is, and he's not that. And so there's this interesting commentary on, you know, what's it mean to be this iconic character? What's it mean to have this kind of legacy or this expectation around you? Which I think can be an interesting perspective, and I'm interested in seeing this with that lens. But some of these comments here do feel a little looking down the nose at everything still, even though he's being complimentary. And like I was just saying with the stuff about Deadpool, if this isn't your kind of movie, that's fine. I love that he was willing to go see it and talked about it being an intellectual experience for him, and an exercise for him. But again, it's one of those things of, hey, it's great if you like something, but we don't need to make other people feel bad for liking typical comic book fodder. Same as I don't need to make anyone feel bad for really enjoying the Joker. I absolutely understand why that first film is incredible to most people. It executes really, really well. It's just not my kind of movie, right? So everyone can like what they like, without us having to make the other people taken down a notch. I try to do
also
that,
just
but I know I
feels,
fail sometimes too.
stepping away from Quentin Tarantino's comments, just for more of the loud minority, it just feels more like, no, see, he meant to do all these bad things, and that's why it's great, and therefore we win. And it's like, you win by liking the film. Shut up if other people didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm having what's in a restaurant, having some kind of a stew, and I take one bite and I spit it out because like there's so much salt in it, the chef coming out and saying, no, you don't understand, I meant to put 5 cups of salt in that. Oh, well, if you meant to put 5 cups of salt in it, then it must be great. I don't care what they meant to do.
This meal is
I care what is the
commentary on
result, right?
hypertension.
But again, look, the bottom line for me is nobody didn't like Joker 2 because it wasn't comic book movie enough. We didn't like it because it wasn't a good movie. And if you thought it was, that's great. Many of us didn't think it was. That's fine too. But it's just, I just thought it was really weird comments from Quentin Tarantino, who maybe sounds a little salty for the fact that none of his movies have made the money comic book movies have. Maybe. And listen, I say this as a absolute Quentin Tarantino fan. I'm just saying it's kind of weird comments. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this story here? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Wicked is coming, and many of you guys will remember the other week, I have been saying for 2 years now, ever since that first presentation at CinemaCon, 2 CinemaCons ago, Ryan came out and said, guys, I have not cared about this Wicked movie, but this Wicked movie is going to be awesome. And then after this past CinemaCon, when Cynthia Erivo or Ariana Grande came out and the director came out and they did the little numbers, show and dance in their presentation, I came out and said, guys, this movie's going to be really good. Cynthia Erivo is going to kill this. Ariana Grande is going to kill this. This thing's going to be great. Then, many of you remember last week, Cynthia Erivo did one of the stupidest things I've seen a celebrity do, utilizing their social media platform. She lashed out at people who were literally cheering for her. She lashed out at people, people who are excited to see her as Elphaba. People are excited to see this movie and who love the original stage play. Some fans took what all fans do to every single movie that comes out, took the poster for the upcoming Wicked movie, and made some adjustments to it in Photoshop. Not very good adjustments, but made adjustments to it in Photoshop to make it look a little bit more like the actual Broadway thing. They lowered the hat a bit to cover the eyes. They raised Ariana Grande's hand to cover her nose, all that kind of stuff. And then Cynthia Erivo went off. She took it as a personal attack on her. And she said, "You're hiding my eyes." And the reason that whole thing turned me off so much was because it kind of implied, her implication here is that this is her movie. This is mine. I am Elphaba. No. You and all actors are stewards of this character. You are a steward of Elphaba. The person making the fan poster did not hide your eyes. They held Elphaba's eyes because that's the way it was in the poster. And they were just doing some fun thing as fans. And it kind of really turned me off, her response to it and all that kind of stuff. Well, Cynthia Erivo has now come out and addressed this. And I gotta say, I think it's the perfect response. I really do. Because here's what before we get to what she did say, here's what she didn't do, and I'm glad she didn't. I was kind of expecting, like after she dropped that, we all said, oh, the studio is going to be in touch with her. And we thought we're going to get this big, long publicist written that she'll sign her name on, the publicist written, I so regret my comments about that. It doesn't reflect my attitude towards the fans. Like something that would seem very artificial, like very well crafted, probably obviously written by a studio publicist and all this kind of stuff, right? And then everybody would jump on it and say she's not being sincere. She's just writing this because she was mad. Well, you know what? She was on a carpet and somebody asked her about it. And she gave what I gotta say, I think is the perfect response. This is what she said about her outburst, I should say. See if I make this a little bit better. I'm passionate about it, talking about Wicked. And I know the fans are passionate about it. And I think for me, it was just like a human moment of wanting to protect little Elphaba. And it was like a human moment, she said. I probably should have called my friends, but it's fine. To me, that one little statement, that one little sign of self-awareness of what actually happened, to me, this is a much better statement than some long 5-paragraph, clearly studio publicist written thing. It was, you know what? I got emotional. And you know what? I can understand being emotional because while this whole fan art thing was made from a place of love and excitement and people are excited for her, she's also taken a lot of crap from some of the darker elements of people who call themselves fan, little fucking pussies. Anyway, she's taken a lot of crap from them and maybe she reacted. And I love the fact that she has this self-awareness to say, look, it was a human moment. And I probably, the last line was the perfect line. I should have called my friends. Because if I was her friend, and I'm not, but if I was her friend and she called me, she goes, did you see this art? I think me and a lot of you and probably her friends would have said, Cynthia, I get it, but look at it this way. I think this is just somebody who's a big fan, is exciting, and fans don't have a lot of outlets to express their excitement, and making their own fan art's just a part of it. This was not about you. This is about their love for the property and their excitement for your movie. And I think if she had just called her friends first, because I don't know if you saw, Ariana Grande was asked about it, and she gave a great response. She goes, you know what? Our fans are excited. They're going to make art. But I love my sister Cynthia. You know, it was a perfect response for something that didn't really involve her. And I gotta say, as upset as I was kind of irate by this, like another, totally clueless, disconnected, no, cognizance of what's going on actor who's just like making it all about and I was like, this is bullshit. I gotta say, I think this was the perfect response. And I can't speak for any other fans, but for me, remember how I said, Chris, that her response to the fan art made the room feel awkward? Yeah. And now I just feel weird and awkward.
It's the office dinner party.
I feel like now, instead of a married couple at a dinner party having a fight, it was like being at a dinner party. There's a momentary quiet moment and somebody ripped a loud fart. And it's all awkward.
Human moment.
But now what Cynthia just did was, woo, that was a big one. And it breaks the tension. I now feel less awkward about it again. Again, I think the response was perfect. Anyway, Chris, what do you think about it?
I mean, first of all, a fart is never not funny, John.
They're always awesome.
It's always funny to fart. I really like this. I love that I had a human moment, because that's what we kind of kept talking about, Jonathan, was, hey, I think this was a snowball thing. Is this what feels like an overreaction?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. But we also haven't been scrutinized for months and months, being told that we are not the right color to play a green person, asking questions about our genitals being painted, etc., etc.
Final straw
Yeah,
moment.
it feels like the straw that broke the camel's back kind of situation.
Yeah.
That being said, I do want to ask the chat here too, who's just live with us, because
Never
we do
respond to the chat.
Yeah, I'm just curious though, because we have a lot of people going, I don't believe it, liar. I do want to know what you think is a better PR statement.
And that's what, whenever I see people say, by the way, you're a moron if you write that. The thing that I always want why people is like, okay, genius. What could they have said? Because no matter what they said, they would write, I don't believe it, whatever. Listen, if they had put out some well-crafted PR bullshit like we see coming out of Hollywood all the time, I would have just probably ignored it. Mm-hmm. I think, but the reason I buy this is because it's exactly what I think happened. Look, I had a human moment. I got upset. I should have called my friends. All that is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. She had a human moment, and she's self-aware enough to know, you know what, instead of just going off online, I should have just called my friends first. This is the exact right thing to say.
Well, and how many of us in our real lives have had that similar moment?
Every one of you
done
fuckers watching this show, and every one of us fuckers in this room, we have all had those moments.
I have definitely.
Don't pretend like you haven't.
I've definitely had that thing where I have the snappy comeback right in the moment, but it didn't need to be said. That's why there are the rules of Jeff. My father does this. Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said by me right now? And if you can answer those questions and go, yeah, I do need to say it, then go for it. But we also don't have cameras constantly scrutinizing our every move, right? And so I do sometimes wonder I don't know what else people can do to apologize other than change their behavior and say they're sorry and own up to making mistakes. And that's what I like most about this, is so often we see people doing what people have been saying to me has been absolutely outrageous, which a lot of it has been. But instead it's, I had a really human moment where I should have called my friends instead. I think that's a great statement.
Yeah. I mean, look, to me, I see some people in the live chat and I'll go, well, she should have said sorry. Celebrities always say sorry, and then people always say, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
And by acknowledging I had a human moment and I should have called my friends, that's an acknowledgement I handled it wrong.
Yeah. And the biggest apology you can do is change behavior.
The thing is this, no matter what she wrote, there's going to be people out there who were going to be ready to write, I don't believe it, no matter what she said. As somebody who was as upset as anybody, who was as ticked off as anybody by what she did last week, if I can look at this and go, that's pretty much the perfect response to say, I had a human moment and I should have just called my friends. Yeah. Yeah. She didn't take some PR thing. She didn't put out a crafted statement. She was at an event. Somebody put a microphone in her face, asked her a question, and she was just honest about it. She just said it. She didn't take a pre-written script from a studio. She said, I should have called my friends, had a human moment. I'm passionate about it. And I know the fans are passionate too. To me, that's as perfect as it gets. And I think if you're still mad about it after this, you're mad because you want to be mad.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, if you're still mad about this after this statement, then you just want to be mad.
Yeah, because it's like,
because this is a fine thing.
Because it's like, if she was sticking to her guns, I'd be like, man, she's really just going down the wrong path. Mm-hmm. But, she accepted, like, it was an embarrassing moment for her too. So it's like, you could just be like, well, I still don't like her, or I don't like those statements, and that's fine, but I'm not going to go see the movie, or I am going to see the movie. To me, it's just like, it's not like, oh, now we like her again. It's not like we hated her before. It's just like, wow, that was really out of line. And then she admitted to it. So like, you could do something in your life that's out of line, and most people I know just try to ignore it and pretend, even if they are embarrassed about it, they try to, or you could actually be like, hey, I was really out of line and I apologize. You guys could still be like, I'm kind of uncomfortable with that guy now, but at least he acknowledged he was an idiot at that moment.
Yeah.
Take
and
with that
if
what
this
you
really
will.
upset you, I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
I was just one of the people who wasn't particularly bothered either way, where I went, oh, okay, well, that's a bummer that she feels that way. But if this was something that truly upset you, hey, I'm not going to tell you how to feel. Feel however you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and listen, look, I think one of the other things to keep in mind is Cynthia Erivo, while she is a celebrity, she has never been a part of a franchise like this.
Absolutely, yeah.
And she has never had to deal with what comes along with that as well. And did she handle it correctly? No. Go back. If you want to know how much I don't think she handled it correctly, go back and watch my video last week. You'll see how much I didn't think she handled it correctly. But live and learn. She recognized, she's self-aware. She says, I handled it wrong. I had a moment. I should have called somebody, and there it is. And so for me, that awkwardness that she created, I think it's gone. I don't want to see any more of those, but I think it's handled. Anyway, guys, whatever you think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still have a couple of other topics to cover, including the hammer is back. Armie Hammer.
Is that barbecue?
Something smells delicious. Armie Hammer is back. He's got his first starring role in a few years. Coming up, we're going to discuss that. And Disney Plus has put out a sizzle reel, giving us new looks at Daredevil, Wonder Man, Ironheart, What If, Marvel Zombies, a bunch of things. We're going to talk about that and a whole bunch more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second to thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at The Perfect Gene. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Perfect Gene. Look, you guys know I've been talking about The Perfect Gene for a while now. I absolutely love these. They fit like a dream, they look fantastic, and they are so comfortable, you forget you're even wearing pants. We all love jeans, but look, we all also know they can be a little bit uncomfortable for the boys, but not with The Perfect Gene. These jeans fit like they were custom made, stretch like you wouldn't believe, and they look absolutely fantastic. The Perfect Gene also has a seriously massive range of sizes, everything from 26 to 50 and lengths of 26 to 38. These have become my absolute go-to jeans whenever I'm hanging around the house or even going out for the day. And listen, the Perfect Gene isn't even just pants. They've revolutionized t-shirts as well. The Perfect Tee has just enough stretch to hide that beer belly while accentuating your arms and chest for that flawless look. My guys, it's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectgene.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use the code CAMPEA at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectgene.nyc with the promo code CAMPEA. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the John Campea Show and tell them we sent you. F your khakis and get the Perfect Gene. And thank you to our friends at The Perfect Gene for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Armie Hammer really kind of burst onto the scene with Social Network. And this is how good he was in Social Network. I didn't know until after my second screening that it was the same guy playing the twins. I honestly thought it was two different twins. People. Yeah. I couldn't believe, first of all, the compositing work on that is amazing. Mm-hmm. But the performance was also great. The performance was incredible. And then, whether it was Call Me By Your Name or Man from U.N.C.L.E. or whatever, he started building up a pretty big career. And that all came crashing down a couple years ago when there was a bunch of controversies around him. Some allegations were made. Things about, again, I've showed this picture before, but this was me with Armie Hammer, 6'5", and I just realized that he's looking at me like I'm delicious. And that's the smile of a hungry man right there. Anyway. And so he kind of disappeared. But now he's back, as Deadline is reporting that Armie Hammer has now signed on for his first movie in years. Deadline writes this. Armie Hammer, who hasn't acted in more than 3 years following the 2021 sexual assault allegations, is set to return to a film set with the Western Frontier Crucible. This is the project we revealed yesterday, starring Thomas Jane. I love Thomas Jane. And produced by Bone Tomahawk. I love Bone Tomahawk. And Dragged Across Concrete. I also love that producer, Dallas Saunier. Filming is due to get underway on the independently financed film next month in Monument Valley and Prescott, Arizona. All right. So, on a purely acting point of view, for a minute, we'll talk about this from several different angles here. From a purely acting point of view, I think Armie Hammer's great. I've always enjoyed seeing him in movies. He hasn't always been in the best movies. That Lone Ranger thing was a disturbing experience. But He's always been great. And his performance in Call Me By Your Name that he did with Timothy Chalamet was remarkable. I loved him in Man from U.N.C.L.E. I just think the guy's a really, really great lawyer. But, you know, it became kind of difficult to even talk about Armie Hammer when all the allegations came out. Of course, there was that little documentary thing, too, that came out. And we talked about that when that came out and all that kind of stuff. So how do I feel about him coming back? How I feel about him coming back is not going to be popular. And that's okay. But it's this paragraph here that's in the Deadline report. Hammer's A-list Hollywood career was derailed back in 2021 when multiple women came forward with claims of abuse against him. Hammer denied the allegations, but had to abandon several projects and was dropped by his talent agency and publicist. Now here's the key thing. After an investigation into Hammer by the LA County District Attorney and the Los Angeles Police Department, they declined to pursue criminal charges against him, citing insufficient evidence. He remains without representation other than his lawyer. Okay. Now, my feelings on this might be more reflective of the fact that I've worked in the legal system. But, you see, here's the thing to me. I think when allegations are made, they need to be taken seriously. But I also believe that when investigations are launched by district attorneys, by police, by all that kind of stuff, if someone then goes to court and they're found guilty in a court of law, that needs to be taken seriously. If they get taken to court and they're found not guilty, I think that needs to be taken seriously. But if the district attorneys and the police don't even get it to the point of a trial. Like, it's one thing for it to go to trial, like they have enough evidence, they take it to trial, and then a judge or a jury deemed them not guilty. Okay, we take that seriously. But if they've done an investigation, they say there's not even enough here, we don't have enough evidence that we can even bring this to trial. I kind of feel like, regardless of my personal feelings, hey, if they investigated and they said, we don't have anything here, everybody is going to be free and will, of course, feel the way they want to individually feel about this. And I respect that. I have my own feelings too. But the guy needs to be allowed to then continue his career. Allegations were made. They were taken seriously. They were investigated. And they said, we don't have enough here. At that point, I don't know that it's just that he should be now excommunicado from his career for the rest of his life when an investigation was done and they said, we don't have enough here to substantiate this. I think the guy's got to be allowed. Now, will I still feel a little awkward seeing Armie in movies? Possibly, but that's not the point here. The point is he should be allowed to continue on with his career if due diligence was done, if investigations were conducted, and they said, we don't even have enough here to charge him with. Then what did or didn't happen behind the scenes that we may never be privy to, I don't know. But the guy's got to be allowed to continue. I felt the same way about, why am I freezing on Kang's name for a second? Jonathan Majors. I felt the same way about Jonathan Majors. Like, you know what? The guy went to trial. They found him not guilty of a bunch of things, guilty of a couple things. There were penalties subscribed for the things he was guilty of, and he's paid the price. Once we've done that, we've got to say you should be allowed to move on now with your career. And I know it's going to be an unpopular thing to say, but regardless of how I feel about Armie or how icky or not icky I'm going to feel seeing him on screen again, that's all irrelevant. The guy should be allowed to move on with his career. Anyway, Chris, look, there's no denying this is a sticky kind of topic, and I don't actually believe there's any truly right answer. There's going to be a lot of nuance to this. And it's not like a big Warner Brothers film he's coming back in, but still, you know, he's back. What's your response to this, and what's your reaction to this?
It's definitely a messy situation because we had several exes of his come forward with the cannibalistic fantasies, the House of Hammer documentary, and then of course the allegations of sexual abuse and potential rape.
The real serious stuff.
And that's the actual stuff because he was in an interview with People yesterday talking about his new podcast, Hammer Time. So
yeah, which by the way is
Woof.
Actually, a very good name for a podcast.
But
I think it's actually a very good name for a podcast.
and he started talking about how like the cannibal stuff is like, oh, it's so funny to me because it's just something people said to get headlines and things. It's difficult to decide. I always feel that people do deserve second chances, and that if somebody is not guilty of a crime, it's not something that should hang over their head. However, sexual assault is something that is so difficult to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Right? That is something that is really, really difficult, especially when it is involving people acting out sexual fantasies of theirs, which is one of the things that this story involved, was a very, very specific kind of kink supposedly happening, where somebody wanted to go through some kind of attack fantasy, allegedly. Right? I am not here to kink shame anyone. Whatever you do with somebody consensually is your own business, but that kind of story also can get incredibly messy when you have various narratives about that kind of thing. I don't know how I feel about him or it. I do, and this is something I've really struggled with in the past, and I'm trying to get better at too, of separating the artist from the art. Doesn't mean
that's hard for all of us.
It's really difficult, and it's one of those things that it doesn't mean I'm going to be able to see myself running to theaters to see this, maybe. But I do try to kind of, vote with my dollar or support people with my dollar. And so if I personally don't like an actor or creator or something, I usually just don't give them my money. This is just a situation where it is so involved and there's so much legal hullabaloo around it still that it's difficult to say what's right or what's wrong. It just does feel a bit icky, for lack of a better, more intellectual term.
Yeah. I again, and, it's such a developing thing that I may feel a little differently 2 weeks from now. Like this is not like a hill I'm willing to die on. Like it's just like, but if someone were to come to me and say, John, you have the power right now. Should this guy be allowed to continue on with his career? Was he charged with anything? No. Then yes. Now, ask me the question, will I go to see the movie? Well, I might give you a different answer to that. But I mean, here's the thing. It's precarious when we want consequences of being guilty applied to somebody who isn't found guilty. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, well, I mean, and by the way, I need to reemphasize this. Not only was he not found guilty, they didn't even have enough evidence to even take it to trial. Right? Like the DA and the police said, we're not going to press charges. Like we interviewed witnesses, we examined the evidence, and we're not going to take this to trial. I just think it's a very precarious thing when we say, okay, not found guilty, but let's give them the penalty as if they were guilty.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
And I think that's a very human thing there's that word again. I think that's a very human thing for me to do. Moment. I think for us to do, but it's again, sticky situation.
Yeah. I mean, let the guy work, and then you could just not go see the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's a very different situation too than I'm not a producer deciding to bring somebody onto something. That's something that would possibly give me pause here of, I don't know if I want you on my set, if you're a liability or not. I want my actors to feel comfortable. I want my crew to feel comfortable. Him existing in films, that has nothing to do with me aside from whether or not I see it.
Yeah. Now, again, if I'm a filmmaker, do I put Armie Hammer in my movie?
I wouldn't.
No, but not because I'm judging him. It's because you would be a problem for our production.
Yeah.
Both with maybe there's people on my production crew that don't feel comfortable, or you're going to be a PR. Having you in my movie might make a PR nightmare. Mm-hmm. So if I'm a producer, do I put him in my movie? No. If I have another friend who's a producer and is putting him in a movie, do I judge him for that? Also, no. You want to put him in your movie? That's
your
great.
decision, yeah.
But I don't know that I would. Anyway, guys, it's an evolving situation. Whatever you guys think about this, like, really murky situation, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Man, Disney Plus, which, listen, has been hit or miss, right? Disney Plus has been hit or miss. They have some huge wins. WandaVision, Andor, Mandalorian, like some tremendous, tremendous big hits. They've also had some pretty big swings and misses. So they are what they are. But they've got some stuff coming down in the pipe that has a lot of people excited. And they have just put out a new video. Mm-hmm. Here's what's coming. And I gotta say, they put a lot of stuff in there. On the animation side, we got the new Spider-Man thing coming.
Yeah.
We also have the Marvel Zombies thing coming. We've also got another season of the useless What If series.
Now.
Hey.
It's useless.
Some of them are fun.
There are a few episodes even I like. There are a couple episodes even I quite like.
The
I
kids
just think
like it.
overall it's
Sometimes
kind of
you gotta let the kids.
overall it's kind
enjoy
of a
things.
pointless series. Anyway, but then also we got some really good live action looks. Daredevil, Wonder Man, Ironheart. Some really good looks at just about everything. It was a heavy thing. They dropped a lot in there. I think a lot of people excited. There was only one thing that even interested me in that. It was the Daredevil stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I gotta say, I think while I love Sir Ben Kingsley in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as that character, I love that character. I love that character. But they were acting like they were riding the horses. It was like, he's great in the Marvels. I mean, really rough start in Iron Man 3. Yes, rocky start to the character in Iron Man 3. But especially in Shang-Chi, I've grown to love this character. Anyway, nothing about Wonder Man looks interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, if executed well and actually a comedy, it could be fun.
Hey, listen, I see lots of stuff that doesn't look very good to me, and then I see it, and it blows me away, right? So hopefully that'll be one of those things. I thought I couldn't be less interested in Ironheart. Nope, I was wrong. There was still some more room for my interest level to drop because the stuff I saw from Ironheart, that also didn't do anything for me. I didn't like the Spider-Man stuff. Nothing about that Spider-Man thing looked interesting. Other than, hey guys, it's Spider-Man. That's it. I'm not all that. Again, there are some episodes of What If that I like, so What If would be whatever. Marvel Zombies seems like just, I don't know, fan service. I don't know, but you know what? I did like the zombie episode of What If. So if they can do that, maintain that, this might be pretty good. But I gotta say, I didn't hate everything in it. I gotta say though, the only thing that truly really excited me about it was the Daredevil stuff. That's the stuff that really excited me. Now, the one other thing that would have excited me, if Don Cheadle's Iron Wars? No, is
Armor
it
Wars.
Armor
Armor
Wars?
Wars.
I keep saying Iron Wars. If Don Cheadle's
Ironheart.
Armor Wars was still a series like they originally planned it, that would be the next thing I would be excited about. But they've changed gears and they're going to make that a movie now, if that even happens. But so but yeah, just Disney Plus doesn't have a lot coming down the pipe that I'm super excited about. Daredevil absolutely would have been for Armor Wars with Don Cheadle because it's Don Cheadle, but that's not there. So I don't know. The only thing that I really loved out of it was probably the Daredevil stuff, and the Daredevil stuff looks so good.
That looks really good.
Oh my God, it looks so good.
The minute we were fighting in a hallway, I was like, yes, there we go. That's all I need. That's all I need.
Just, I mean, some of it was stuff that we've seen in other footage and all that kind of stuff, but oh God, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this Daredevil thing. Anyway, Chris, you had a chance to see the trailer that dropped. What's got you excited?
Pretty much everything except
All
for
of it.
Ironheart. Yeah. Because with Ironheart, it was just man, I hope this character comes back better. Because what we had in Wakanda Forever just did not move the needle for me. It did not get me excited about the show. I think just because of how they had to rewrite that script and pivot, it just didn't fire on all cylinders for me.
Wakanda Forever just really, I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike
exactly.
it.
It was
just so
fine.
flat compared to the first Black Panther.
Angela Bassett knocked it out of the park.
Sure, absolutely.
But other than that, didn't really love that one. And I loved Namor. That was great too.
Hopefully this doesn't have like an echo effect.
Exactly, yeah. But I think everything looks fun. I mean, I'm always a sucker for a Spider-Man cartoon. Animated Peter Parker was my first crush. I love
stuff's
these
all
kinds of things.
fun.
Those
I
are always
mean,
fun.
Even though like I get, it's not like in John's wheelhouse. There's a lot of people where that's going to be fun for and just easy content.
That's going to be
so.
such a good just kind of palate cleanser too for when I'm watching some more intense stuff
Yeah.
to go, oh, I'm going to watch some Spider-Man right now. Wonder Man, I personally love just the actor perspective on it and having to do the slates and auditions. Trevor Slattery, I think, is such a funny,
Such
weird
a good character.
And to mix Simon in here, especially because we are going to do a lot of comic book deviation here, I'm assuming. Like, I don't believe Baron Zemo's given him his powers through ionic principles and things like that. I'm interested to see where they go with this, especially because I love Yaya so much. But man, Daredevil definitely is the one I'm most
I
excited
love that
about.
we got this shot. Yeah. I can't always forget the guy's name. This character's name. But anyway,
It's intense.
yeah.
It's so, I can't even see it's so
Okay,
dark
now-
on my monitor. I
Oh.
can't even see who it is.
What about you see it up there? It's brighter on that TV. But
well, whatever.
Whoa, I'm a ghost on that monitor.
Muse.
yeah,
Goodness
because that one's
gracious.
brighter.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
from the Daredevil stuff.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
Muse.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's Muse.
And
But
then,
I'm-
we got our first little shot. This shot here reminded me of, as soon as I saw this shot, this is what I thought of. That.
Oh, you know what I thought of?
Andrew
Robert
Sachs.
De Niro, Al Pacino.
Oh, yeah.
Why am I freezing the name of that
Yeah.
iconic all-time great
Heat.
movie?
Heat.
Heat. Yeah, it reminded me of that shot.
Oh,
in
you know
Heat.
what it reminded me of? It's when Dwight went to go meet with Jan behind Michael's back at that restaurant.
That is exactly it.
You know, this shot's going to be really dark too, but John, you'll see up on that monitor a little better. But this had a John Wick
Oh,
feel with
yeah.
Punisher where he's about to shoot
Yeah.
through the
Love that
wall.
we're getting
Yeah,
Punisher
yeah.
again. Oh, and I guess I'm not particularly excited about Marvel Zombies just because those comics never did it for me.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, they're releasing them next year around Halloween, makes sense, and a lot of people love that stuff. So if you liked that episode of What If, enjoy.
The one thing I'll say about Wonder Man, Yahya Abdul-Mateen is a hell of an actor. And I admit, like when he first came on screen, he's standing in the room. I'm thinking, why is Black Manta like auditioning guy? Like, because I got to admit, that's all I see right now is Black Manta. I'm sure I'll get past that. He's a great actor. You got him with one of the great actors ever in Ben Kingsley. Look, there's potential there. As far as Ironheart goes, though, like, whereas they introduced Black Panther in Civil War, and that got us excited for a Black Panther movie. Ooh, they screwed the pooch on introducing Ironheart in Wakanda Forever. They really, because they literally made not everybody, but me and I think a lot of other people less interested in an Ironheart project by introducing her there.
I will have a little interest in the series, mainly because
Ironheart?
Yeah, only because I do love Iron Man suits, just the manufacturing of them and how they come together.
Hopefully we get a
Also,
lot
I
of
wanna see
that,
if we
though,
get
and it'll cheat us.
a little bit of tidbits of maybe Young Avengers. As I believe she would probably be on the team, right?
Yeah.
If we get any cameos, maybe of Miss Marvel, or maybe
If that's
somewhere
even
in there.
if that's
Daredevil.
happening.
And also Eyes of Wakanda. I had no idea it was an animated show. I thought it was going to be a live action show. I don't know how that flew over my head. So the Wakanda show was always supposed to be an animated show.
As
Yes.
far as I
Yeah.
know, yes.
It was never supposed to be a live action with the.
I don't think so.
No.
with the what's the Malaje?
Well, they're still in it,
Dora
but
Milaje.
they're
Yeah,
animated.
sorry.
Warriors? Yeah, my understanding is that is more of an almost anthology series where we're going throughout time with the Wakandan warriors extracting vibranium and training and doing some stuff. I could be wrong though, but that was a little synopsis I saw.
And what's interesting about all the animated shows they showed in this teaser, all of them have a different style. I really like the Spider-Man. I don't know what you're smoking, John, but that looked good to me.
Did it look good?
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen. You could do a ton of Spider-Man animated series as long as they differentiate from each other. Like the other one that was on Disney Plus, I really like that. They just did. But I'm excited for this Spider-Man. I don't know why.
I didn't see anything in there that would get me. Now, I'm not saying that they can't show me more stuff later that wouldn't get me excited. I'm just saying from what I saw, it didn't really do it for me.
So your favorite part was Daredevil.
Absolutely Daredevil, like 100%. I get.
Kingpin looks slim a little. He slimmed down a little bit in there. He looked a little like he's been in the
I
gym.
thought it looked good, but I will say this though. I think maybe one of the reasons why I'm a little bit turned off of Ironheart might have nothing to do with Ironheart. It's just that I'm also completely over the fact that everyone in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now gets to have Iron Man suits.
Right.
So Iron Man had Iron Man suits. Spider-Man then took on Iron Man suits.
Dora Milaje.
The Dora Milaje got Iron Man suits. Now we got Ironheart's going to have an Iron Man suit. It's just like everybody gets Iron Man
I
suits.
can't wait for
and-
mine.
I can't wait for mine.
I don't know.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What did you think about this new little sizzle reel? What was your favorite part of it? Mine was the Daredevil stuff. Maybe something else is there for yours. What's something that was in there that maybe you weren't looking forward to, but now you are? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, It's time for us to get to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. So, Jonathan, what we got up first?
Paul Dean says, hi, John and crew. I just watched The Wild Robot. It's a lot better than I thought it would be. I really felt the emotional beats and thought the shots were amazing. The humor was good too, especially the I have 6 kids. The voice cast was good too.
I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't know. But Chris, you did. Did you?
Yeah, it's adorable. It's very emotional. It's a very, very emotional.
That's what everybody
film.
says. Is like everybody came out saying they were how surprised they were of how emotional it was.
Yeah.
I just remember when the first teaser dropped and my jaw was on the floor. I just thought it looked beautiful. I thought it seemed great, but I still haven't seen it. Still haven't seen it. I got to get around to that. It's not going to be tonight. You know why? Because there's World Series is on and it's game day. Agatha, the final 2 episodes of Agatha are tonight, so that's going to kind of take up my dance card tonight.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Did he just say that? Says, hi, John and crew. Longtime fan here. I'm loving Agatha. Hoping it hits the landing for season end.
Yeah.
With the positive reception, do you see Marvel using Agatha in the ongoing greater MCU? Catherine Hahn kills it, whatever she's in. Thank you, Bring On Filthy.
I mean, look, well, there's a couple of things. Number one, you don't want to just throw Agatha in something because Agatha was good. She's got to fit into a story. There has to be a narrative reason and a narrative purpose. You don't want to just start throwing her out the wall. I'm going to say no, though, because, and I totally could be wrong about this. I have no insider information. This is just a guess. I think there's a chance she dies tonight. I think maybe Agatha dies. One of the big themes in this show has been death comes for us all. And I think maybe Billy is the only one that walks away in this one, because what's happening? Somebody is dying almost every episode. As they go through the witch's road, they're all dropping like flies. So we've got the skincare witch. She probably dies in the first episode tonight, I'm guessing. And then Agatha, then in the final episode, that just leaves Billy and Agatha. I think Agatha dies. Again, I have nothing to back that up with. That is just pure speculation on my part, but
And then she and Rio can be together.
then her and Rio. And by the way, we saw them talk. Nicholas Scratch they've already mentioned him. I think he probably comes into it too. So we'll see. All right, what's next?
It's all groovy. Loved you. All my predictions in Avengers Doomsday, Doctor Doom, RDJ kills Happy Hogan. Thoughts? Boom.
Maybe. Sure. But
Yeah.
I mean, what does that do?
Yeah. I mean, a milkshake could kill Happy Hogan. So
Yeah, I mean,
Wow. Johnson.
oh, gee.
Wow.
you got to be careful out there.
You gotta be careful. I mean, like, what does killing Happy Hogan do?
Make him unhappy.
He's
It
not.
makes us sad.
Yeah,
Sad Hogan.
Yeah.
he's not formidable, so it's not like it would be a demonstration of his power. If you want it to be a powerful emotional hit, then he needs to kill Pepper or he needs to kill their daughter. What? You don't think that would be emotionally
It
powerful?
would, but man, every time you bring up killing like a son or a daughter,
Kill the kid. Kill the kid.
just blows my
Yeah.
mind.
Again, I just don't know what killing Happy would do. Like what that would accomplish narratively on the screen. But anyway, all right. What's next?
Make some red tape a little more complicated. Anonymous says, just rewatched The Mummy and oh man, what a fun, enjoyable movie it still is. I think it's become a classic like indie. Why?
No, it's not.
No,
It's
it's not a
not
classic
on the
like
same
indie.
level as Indiana
But it's
Jones.
still fun.
Yes.
It's
I
still
love
great.
it.
And Brendan Fraser's great. Why do you think Brendan Fraser hasn't worked in a while? And is there any chance for a Mummy sequel?
He was just in Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's working again
Yeah,
for
he's
sure.
done a few things
Ever since The Whale, and then he's been doing more stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and isn't he in that DC comic movie coming out? Oh no, wait, that got shelved.
Oh.
I
Low-hanging
really,
fruit, John.
Wow.
I really like The Mummy. Now, I think they all started to decline in quality after the first one, but I really like the first Mummy. Now, is it on the level of Indiana Jones? No, but I had a lot of fun with it. I was a really, really big fan of Brendan Fraser for a long time. Screw everybody else. I don't care. I love George of the Jungle.
Oh, that movie's fabulous.
I loved With Honors. He was
Encino Man, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention Encino Man, but
love
that's
It
fine.
Encino
still had that 90s
Oh,
kitsch.
it's
I like
so
it.
fun.
It did. I'm not
love
going to take
it.
anything away from it. Bedazzled,
Oh yeah.
you know, play good, shoot good, It's all good. Are you a big ever? What? No. Bedazzled is, you know what? That is truly, truly an underappreciated comedy.
Yep.
Bedazzled is so good. Anyway, but ever since once he won his Academy Award and then Michelle Yeoh won her Academy Award, a lot of talk started going around about doing another Mummy. I think every day that passes that we don't get any news, I think lessens the chances of it ever happening. So I hope there's still a chance, but yeah, I think every day that goes by, it gets less and less, but who knows? All right, what's next?
Ric Flair's Martini is here. Up until episode 4, I agreed that not having Pattinson appear in any capacity in the Penguin had helped make the show even better. But with everything going on in the show now, I think he needs to make a cameo in the finale.
No, he really doesn't.
No matter how busy, well, let's just all go home then. No matter how busy Batman would be cleaning up Riddler's mess, the idea that the introduction of a powerful new street drug, as well as several members of both of Gotham's mafia families dying, wouldn't get his attention is silly, right? It gets his attention, but he doesn't just show it and start punching people.
It really doesn't. I think the lowest thing on Batman's priority list right now is gangsters killing each other.
Yeah.
I think that is the lowest thing on Batman's priority. With the amount of suffering going on in Gotham around this time, and Gotham is a big city, I really think gangsters knocking each other off is not high on his priority
It's
list.
once the power is consolidated, then it's a problem, right? Because Penguin says himself, I'm going to rule Gotham. Well, Batman's not going to let anybody rule Gotham. So once it gets to that point, sure.
Why would you take out the trash when it's taking itself out?
When it's taking, yes. By the way, Toad78 in the live chat, perfect comment. He said, to Batman, the stuff that's going on in the Penguin is a police problem. That's a perfect thing. Like there's just certain things that's going on. It's like, why would that be on Batman's priority list? There's too many other things going on in that Gotham that has gone straight to hell that I think we're now. The one thing of what you said though, that I do think will have future implications is Bliss.
Yeah.
I think Bliss will become a problem. And they've always said that Penguin is going to lead right into Batman 2. I think Bliss isn't going to be that, but I think Bliss may be a part of that. So I think the Bliss thing is a good observation, but it's still so early in the game and nobody really controls it yet that I think that might become an issue come the Batman 2.
I know from the comics he gets it from like insects, but I keep going back and thinking, I wonder if Scarecrow is going to tap into the hallucinogenic part of these mushrooms.
Well, a lot of people thought it comes out of Arkham. If there's going to be a Scarecrow connection there, and there very well could be, because Scarecrow is one of those villains you can use in a Matt Reeves universe, right?
Absolutely.
Clayface, maybe not.
Clayface is a little trickier.
Man-Bat, probably not.
It's just suddenly if you see
Man-Bat so much.
suddenly if you see that, you're just like, oh, where am I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous says it's a two-parter, basically. Second season of Wolf Hall starts in November. First season was approximately 12 years ago. Stars Mark Rylance as Thomas Cromwell, Damian Lewis as Henry VIII. Great cast so far. Claire Foy as Anne Boleyn. 98% Rotten Tomatoes. It's a great show with brilliant acting. Highly recommend it. I forgot to say with regards to Wolf Hall, a very young Tom Holland plays Gregory Cromwell. That I'm guessing that was in season 1. He is very good in it too. Joanne Whaley, late Bernard Hill is also in the show. It's well stacked with actors. I love historical stuff, so man, that could be fun.
Okay, first of all, my wife, Anne, completely obsessed with anything with the English royals. She even started what's the star? What's her name again from Silo? And she's in the Mission Impossible movies.
Rebecca Ferguson?
Yes. And even found this older Rebecca Ferguson show where it's like, I can't remember, she plays Anne Boleyn. I can't remember the name of the show, but it surrounds the like King Henry and stuff like that. And I remember Anne's first message to me, I just found this show with Rebecca Ferguson. I'm like, okay, cool. What's it about? She goes, in her response to my question of what's it about was, she's naked a lot in it. That was her big thing. So I can't remember the name of it, but that cast you mentioned does sound stacked. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never heard of Wolf Hall.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Was
obviously,
that just an English show or was it
it
here?
was 12 years ago.
Yeah,
one
it
season.
came out in 2015.
I mean, this is obviously, it takes place, it's the same thing as the Tudors, Henry VIII.
yeah.
Thomas Cromwell, who was in that show, was played by from Jurassic Park, the doctor in Jurassic Park. Why can't I think of his name now?
Yeah, the Australian.
Yeah, you know, John, the,
Oh my
the
gosh,
guy who
why
takes
am I
off his
blanking?
glasses because he first sees the.
Oh, from Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, his name is.
Yeah, he was Sean Connery's second in command in Hunt for Red October.
yeah,
and
Sam
Sam Neill.
Samuel, thank you.
So yeah, it's a different take on the Tudors, basically.
Yeah.
Maybe it's leaning more on the Thomas Cromwell, like a man for all seasons kind of thing. But
If
sounds
he likes that like 1500 to 1535 time
Yes.
period.
But
Yeah,
by the way,
that's
anybody
where
who
we're
watch
then.
it, do you know the show I'm talking about with Rebecca Ferguson? What the name of it is? It's not the Tudors.
Oh yeah. Now yeah,
I can't
the
remember.
She's Anne
Queen, not
Boleyn?
the Queen.
Maybe it was just called Anne Boleyn. Not sure.
The White Queen.
The White Queen.
White
yes,
Queen.
the
There you
White
go.
Queen.
So anyway, go look it up. All right, what's next?
All right. John M says, John, did you see Anna Kendrick's Woman of the Hour? Daniel Zavato, who played the serial killer Rodney Alcala, said amazing.
Did amazing.
Did amazing at playing horrifyingly creepy. Anna Kendrick's directorial debut felt great too. The parking lot scene was so suspenseful.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I can't give thoughts. But I'm going to say, Ann and I want to sit down and watch it because I've heard, first of all, the trailer was amazing. I love Anna Kendrick, although I hope she walks back her statements about not doing as much comedy anymore because she's so good comedically. But we are going to sit down and watch it, but I haven't watched it yet. Did you? You did watch
Yeah.
it. You really enjoyed it, right?
I did, and it's one of those movies where after I watched it, I kept thinking about it and liked it even more. The frames they use in this, I mean, just the way they kind of frame out a bunch of the violence that happens, the way that parking lot scene does get executed. I mean, it is filled with so much tension, and it's like an hour 45, right?
Yeah, it's
real
not
quick,
that long.
quick
at all.
watch and very impactful.
It might even be shorter than that.
Yeah,
actually.
they use their time very wisely in this.
All right, what's next?
Okay, this is in regards to like the inflation thing, but no, but he's taking like John's kind of like cue on this. So I think a good comparison is the music industry looking at popularity of the Beatles versus modern mega artists. It's apples to oranges because a ticket sold now does not equal a ticket then. But especially when the internet and ease of access to new performers like the Beatles or Michael Jackson rose to their fame pre-internet and wide distribution of news and information. So not to take away from modern artists, it's just not the same. So like,
Yeah, again, and let me just kind of boil down the one thing again. There's been some discussion lately about why I say it's a totally preposterous thing to bring adjusted for inflation into box office conversations. Because whenever you try to compare movies from different decades, adjusted for inflation, you are making a fallacy assumption. You're assuming that by today's ticket prices and in today's context, if that movie from a different era were to come out now, that it would have sold exactly the same amount of tickets. For you to try to bring in adjusted for inflation into the conversation, you are making an assumption that if that movie from that era were released today, under today's cultural circumstances, that movie would have sold the exact same amount of tickets
Right.
today. Given the price of tickets, given the amount of movies in competition, given streaming,
Yeah.
given other things that are putting up demand for people's expendable income. And that's a fallacy assumption. It never would happen. That movie in that era would not have sold as many tickets today. So therefore, trying to compare adjusted for inflation is nonsense. It's a complete nonsense thing, and that's why. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Ryan Jacobs says, spoiler theory in Penguin episode. I think Sophia will beat Mrs. Cobb, so Oz will have to put her down. And they even foreshadowed veggies in the eggplant dish she ate with Sal. She'll have to go after Vic first. She did have a pipe. She could get the jump
No,
on
I don't
Vic.
think she had a pipe. She had a crowbar, which she
Yeah,
used to bust into the door.
Yeah. Which was very like, they are so lucky the power had just come on because that was a very terrible way to break into someone's home. There's
Yes.
no quiet.
Okay, so here's my guess, and it's just a guess, just a pure guess. I don't think she's going to physically assault Oz's mom. She's got to think about moms. I don't think now, will she kidnap her? Will she hold her hostage? Maybe, yeah. But I can't see her going in there and using a crowbar to beat up on.
She probably had a gun with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm
So-
sure she's got a gun, but I don't see her physically assaulting Oz's mom. Vic, on the other hand, may be fair game. So there could be some of that, but I don't know.
I mean,
will
Vic
see.
did. Well, she doesn't know this, but Vic did help get rid of the body, and he did
Yeah.
drive that car. She doesn't know this either, so it's like, you know,
But most importantly, she just knows
he's part of the
he's
team.
probably important to Oz.
He saved Oz.
He saved Oz. Yep.
So
So he could be in for some uncomfortable moments ahead at the hands of Sophia. Because I guarantee you this, Sophia's not there alone. She's got some muscle with her. They didn't show her them in the shop, but I guarantee you she's got muscle with her. All right, what's next?
Darth Ray. Hey, John and crew, big fan of the show from London. Have you had a chance to check out the new Office on Prime? The Office US is my favorite show. I wanted this one to be good. Oh my God, it's so bad. First episode made me cringe so much, and I had to tap out.
This is the Australian one?
Yeah,
Okay.
the new one.
Yeah, no. The
It just looks
trailer to
poorly
me was
written.
so bad. I'm just not interested in it. Now, speaking of The Office, though, the makers of The Office and Parks and Rec have a new show coming out based in a hospital. Anne caught an advanced preview of it, and she showed it to me. It's really funny. It's really funny. I can't remember the name of the show either.
St. Denis Medical.
Is that what it is? I think this is going to be a really good show, actually. I'm hoping it can fill that Parks and Rec shaped hole in my heart that I've had for a few years. Be really nice if they did. All right, what's next?
We got Swanson Burgundy says, other than the Star Wars prequels, what's a movie you really appreciated the making of, or the ambition, skill, or scale of it, but disliked the movie itself?
That's a really good question.
I actually have one. I can't remember the name, but it was with Orlando Bloom, and it was the movie where they're like it's medieval times and they're in the Middle East, Crusades, Kingdom of Heaven. So when later on they kind of fixed it with the extended
I
edition.
thought you were talking about Troy.
Yeah, I actually like Troy, but Kingdom of Heaven, it's one of those rare things where the extended edition actually did help it a lot. But when it first came out, I was like, this movie looks great. The scale is huge, but Kingdom of Heaven did not do it for me.
First of all, I'm glad you brought that up. Like as much as I dislike the Star Wars prequels, I love all the bonus features on the DVDs. The behind the scenes of how they made. Love or hate the prequels, man, and I hate them. They're garbage. But what it took to make those movies and the techniques they used to make those movies, I loved. I watched the hell out of all those bonus features about the making of it. And it really made me appreciate how they did it. Now, what would be another movie that follows along those lines? God, I'm not really sure. That is such a good question.
Yeah.
I'd have to think of, like, there have been some I'm trying to think of like some visually stunning movies.
Well, Tron was like really awesome to look at and listen to.
You're talking about
but-
the more recent
Yeah.
one. Yeah. That
But the
was
story for me fell
the
flat.
great music, how they made it was really good. Somebody saying Jupiter Ascending. Yeah, that's one of the worst movies ever made.
But
But
I don't
But
even
it's so
think when I
pretty.
watched that, I wasn't like the scale of it. I guess so.
Yeah,
but
it's a pretty
Yeah.
movie, but Elysium's a good one to bring up.
yes.
That-
Yeah,
and that was
yeah.
that was a follow up that we thought this is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
it was
and
just
then-
like, ooh.
It wasn't that bad.
All right, what's next?
Ray Logan. Tender Whisper says, after a coworker suggestion, I started binging Eastbound and Down. Good choice. This show is effing hilarious. Michael Pena is so underrated comedically. He's so good in the show, and I loved him in Observe and Report.
Well, Observe and Report is awesome.
Stevie is a revelation. That's all I will say about Eastbound and Down. His friend Stevie.
And can I just again repeat for the 50th time? Marvel not using Michael Pena more is such a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm not even joking. Like, it's such a missed opportunity. He is beloved. He's hilarious. He fits right in with that universe. And I mean, the fact that they didn't even bring him in for Ant-Man 3 is ridiculous.
I know.
Now, unless Michael Penny's just like, I don't really want to. I'm just trying to take my career in a different direction. I don't really want to do MCU anymore. Okay, that's fine. But if that's not the case, them not using him more is a massive missed opportunity. Oh.
Yes.
All right, what's next?
Vixens. Agent Michael Scarn says, with the end of the Penguin coming so sad, do we think that there might be a real possibility that we see Penguin come out of this show with the yeah. I was jokingly thinking about this yesterday. Iconic monocle look, especially where we see his next episode going toward torture for those he loves and him. I was thinking, can you imagine? This has never happened to be so stupid, but like, and he finds a monocle and a gun shaped like an umbrella.
Yeah.
And just
all
throws
comes
away
together.
all the hard work of this season.
I mean, I know that I don't want this, but a cool thing they could do is some eye violence. Take out one of those peepers.
I'm going to guess no. Because, you don't see Riddler in the first one jumping around with a skin tight green shirt with a giant question mark on it. Like, I don't see them doing the monocle. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with that. The waddle, that's enough for me. The waddle is enough for me. I don't think they will, but to Chris's point, a final episode scuffle where one of his eyes gets damaged. They could do, but even then, I don't think the classic monocle.
Well, no.
I don't think so.
It
But
has to be
something
some
that,
like squinty thing, a glass eye, something.
yeah, something that, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of simulates it.
Yeah, it pays homage to it.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe.
But I
You know
don't
what I
think you
like-
need it.
You know what I liked about the Arkham? He didn't have a monocle.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was, the backstory is he got, I think it was Saz or somebody, like hit him with a bottle.
Yeah.
And the remainder of the bottle was there, and if they removed it, he'd bleed out and die. So that is why he has that. In
Which
the
was
game.
really cool.
Yeah.
And messed
Interesting.
up.
All right, what's next?
Scott M says, the other day you said that Clint Eastwood's movies haven't made much money. Lately, 2014, since 2014,
Yeah.
Eastwood and Spielberg have earned nearly identical box office receipts. Clint's movies were much deeper than Spielberg's, 1.2 billion each. That's 10 years. It's a decade of movies.
So what's your point or what's your question?
I guess just that like he's not alone and not making a lot, or within 10 years you can make a lot. I mean, he's cranked out some good stuff over 10 years, but
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I mean, and I have a huge admiration for Clint Eastwood movies. Like I lament that a number of them nobody went to go see. Like that's the thing is I wasn't saying by any stretch of the imagination that, yeah, Clint Eastwood's not that good because
No, he has
movies don't make money. That wasn't my implication at all. Like he's a tremendous filmmaker. On the other hand, Steven Spielberg, like he's also making almost every one of his movies are nominated for Best Picture. Right? Like, yeah, not a lot of people went to go see The Fabelmans, but that's not a surprise. Like that, you could tell right from the beginning, that movie doesn't look like it was going to be a big blockbuster by any stretch, but it's amazing. The Fabelmans was so good.
Yeah, that was right.
West Side Story was, I poo-pooed. If you guys watched me for a long period of time, I was like, why on earth is Steven Spielberg doing West Side Story? What the hell? I loved it. It was so good.
I just
Probably should have won Best Picture at the Oscars, honestly. But
I just made myself feel really old because he said from 2014. I'm like, yeah. Gran Torino. It's almost 20 years old. Gran Torino is almost 20 years
is
old.
Gran Torino almost 20?
Dang.
3 years away from 20.
It came out in
2008.
2008?
Yeah. I'm like, that was 20 years ago.
I don't like this game.
Crumbling
my
to
God.
Ugh.
All
right.
You're right. I would have thought 2015.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't like
We're
this
just
game.
gonna throw it away.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on, shall we? That's depressing.
Gus's gas station reviews. You heard it here first. Armie Hammer to star as the main antagonist in the remake of Cannibal Holocaust.
Yep. Get them all out now. Get all
Come on, we want more.
Get all the cannibal jokes out
Come
now.
on, better. We want better than that. Come on.
All right, what's next?
Piero says, "Hey, John and crew, what would you think about Thanos returning, but as a hero to help the Avengers against Doom? That could be an interesting full circle."
No. No,
There only has to be half of Doom. That's his deal.
look, we're over Thanos. It's time to move past, like we did Thanos for over a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, not fully for over a decade, but I
Sure.
mean, he made his first appearance in the first Avengers movie, and he's been the lurking thing. Plus, what they did with Endgame with Thanos was they changed him from, like, in Infinity War, because we only got to see a certain amount of him. In Infinity War, he almost comes across as this altruistic, like, look, I'm just trying to save the universe. And that saving the universe is going to require us making sacrifices. We got to wipe out half the life in the universe. Okay. Guy saw himself as a hero. But once you get to Endgame and the big three, Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, all go and confront Thanos, any illusions that he was just a well-meaning dude with a really sick idea, but well-meaning, any illusions of that are blown away because he's like, you know what? F you all. I'm going to eradicate everything. I'm going to destroy everything down to its atoms. And I'm going to start a new universe the way I think it should be done. Like, so any illusions that, you know, Thanos is just a guy who got carried away with an idea, that all kind of went. There was no redemption for that. Like, and so, and again, we've done Thanos for over a decade. It's time to move past Thanos. A little Thanos appearance in something like What If, which they do,
Yeah.
that's fine. But I mean, to actually bring him back into the MCU proper, nah, I don't think so. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, "Hey, y'all, yesterday started watching The Penguin. I finished episode 5 already.
Nice.
The show is so good. Colin Farrell and Kristen Milioti are absolutely crushing it. I think she's the most dangerous when she gives a smile. It's scary."
It's so unsettling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so unsettling. And in real life, the nicest, sweetest human being. And on that show, for some reason, when she smiles, it is bone chilling.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, and there's such a great dichotomy in the character, and she plays it well because on the one hand, she'll kill her whole family. On the other hand, she lets the prostitute live. You know, so like there's this great depth to her character. The performances are insane. But listen, I'm telling you right now, come Emmy time, you are going to hear the names Milioti and Farrell. Like you're just, I'm not saying they're necessarily going to win, but you're going to hear their names
Sure.
come up. And Penguin, I'm going to call right now. Penguin's going to be nominated for Best Dramatic Series.
They better not make Milioti supporting.
I'm okay if they do.
But she's the second half. She's taken a
Yeah.
lead. I mean,
Yeah, but there have been entire episodes that she wasn't in it,
That's
or at
true.
least one, I think. At any rate, I mean, yes, in a real world, she should be best lead actress because she is the lead actress of the series, right? She's the best.
of all
lead
the
actress.
actresses, she would be the lead. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Alex Von Gollum says, "Sorry, forgot to put my name regarding the Penguin. The final songs that close the episode are great. The lyrics are 100% on point with what just happened."
I can't remember which songs played.
Yeah.
I can't, but I just know that they are hitting all the right notes with this show. Like I keep waiting for the bad part. I just keep waiting for that. And it just never comes. Like they are just crushing
Yeah.
every episode. I really hope they stick the landing. But you know what? I'll say this. Even if they ruin the ending,
Uh-huh. The ride was so great.
this show has been
been so
so
fun.
good. I'm going to let, if they botch the ending, okay, maybe that'll stop it from being best show of the year or something. But I will still say, even if the final 2 episodes sucks, I'm going to be overall, the show was great.
Yeah.
Because the ride to get here, who said that? The ride to get here was
Oh, it was
just
me.
so good that I'll be like, okay, it sucks that they didn't stick the ending, but that doesn't change that overall the show was great.
Yeah, but I do agree. It does have some great end credit music. Because last night that happened again, or no, not on Sunday. It happened again. I thought, this is like, to me, Mad Men always stuck the landing with their end credit music. It always tied in with what was happening right there. Check out
All right.
Mad Men if you have not seen it. Mr. I says, rewatched 2010's Predators last night. Almost the entire cast has been in a Marvel movie. Adrian Brody, Danny Trejo, and maybe the Japanese actor haven't. Also completely forgot Walton Goggins and Mahershala Ali was in this.
I like that movie. It wasn't great, but I liked it. I think that was like in the mess of all those Alien and Predator movies that came out like after their originals and stuff like that. The one kind of shining beacon of hope in it was that one. And Adrian Brody is kind of, remember, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but Adrian Brody between Winning Time and now Brutalist, his new movie, a lot of people are saying it's going to be one of the front runners for Best Picture, along with Covenant and a few other, or Conclave, I mean. He was so good in Winning Time as Pat Riley.
Oh,
He was so good in that.
Man, that's one I still have to go watch. I have to go back and catch up.
Oh man, I missed that show.
I missed
that
it
show.
too. That was such a fun show. John C. Reilly was so good in that.
Was that on Max?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
it was a Max
Hulu.
show, wasn't it?
It was Hulu.
Oh, Hulu?
Was it?
Really?
Remember, it was
I thought it was
Hulu.
Max.
That's what was strange. Wasn't it Hulu?
I think it was Max.
Or did they switch it as Max?
I don't
thought
think it ever switched.
Yeah, they're saying Max in the thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was an HBO series.
Sorry.
All right, what's next?
Moving on to our member questions here. Colin says there's a fascinating article in Forbes by Carolyn Reed about how studios use the UK government's audiovisual expenditure credit to make movies in that country. He uses the finances of Quantumania as a case study. Recommended reading for those who love learning about the movie business. Canada does something similar, right? There
Yes.
are grants.
Yeah, that's why at the end of a lot of movies, if you stay to the ends because you're thinking there's going to be an end credit, I guarantee almost half the movies you watch in theaters, there'll be a big Canada Films and Quebec this and Ontario Creates, because they'll do a lot of stuff in Canada because of that. I gotta say this though, guys.
Yes.
I am weaning myself off of Forbes. I've known for a while that the last year or so, it's just been feeling like, because Forbes is one of my go-tos, but something's been feeling really off and weird. And then I saw this great video by, I think it was Marquise Brownlee, MKBHD, for those of you who don't know. No. It wasn't MKBHD. It was Mr. Who's the Boss, who's one of my other favorite tech YouTubers.
Oh yeah, him.
But talking about,
Danza has a YouTube?
I know, right? But that's his YouTube handles, Mr. Who's the Boss. But breaking down how Forbes, it was a part of a larger thing, Forbes, but does these really completely for algorithm clickbait articles and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I went, that's why it's been feeling so weird and odd to me. So I'm actually starting to wean myself off of Forbes and not reading them. Again, that doesn't mean that the article you're mentioning isn't a totally great article. That's just kind of brought it up for that.
My dad used to do pieces for them under a pseudonym.
Really?
Yeah, he would do little legal pieces for them.
Interesting. Yeah, I used to love them. I used to think they were great, but something's been changing there lately.
Oh, so I mixed up that Lakers thing with if there was an actual Lakers thing on Hulu.
Oh, it was like a documentary.
Legacy, the true story.
Legacy.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
no. We were talking about the John C. Reilly
right.
Winning Time. Yeah.
Okay.
I could see why that would get mixed up. All right, what's next?
Logan Vaughn asks, what's your go-to Halloween candy, John?
Traditional?
Well, it could be anything, just like Halloween, like what you like.
Right. So today, it's Reese's Pieces. I love the little Reese's Pieces
I mean,
bags.
I love Reese's Pieces any time of the year.
Yeah.
Me too, but especially the little. When I was a kid, the go-to one was always the little round candy. We'd have 20 of them lined up in a stick and wrapped in a like a clear wrapper, so they're like 20 little individual pieces of round sugar candy, basically.
Okay.
I used to love that stuff. By the way, can I just mention this? Halloween's coming up on Thursday. I want to give credit to who I saw said this, but now I can't remember who it was, so forgive me. But I thought the message was great. I always see people, and I admit I've been guilty of this too. When you see teenagers dressed up in Halloween costumes and going trick-or-treating, going, guys, leave it for the kids. You know what? Cut those kids some slack.
Yeah.
If teenagers want to keep celebrating the holiday and do something fun as kids, it's going door to door to get some candy, instead of doing a lot of things that all of us don't want teenagers doing, you encourage teenagers. Yeah, if I see any teachers, I won't, because Ann and I aren't going to be home for Halloween evening. We're one of those people, but because we're actually going to be out of town. But if you get teenagers coming to your door trick or treating, Give him a pat on the back.
Give him an
Verbally.
e-cig. It's cool.
Yeah,
Let 'em
don't
vape.
touch the kids. But like, say, encourage them.
Well, you don't know where somebody is at too in their life and their
Yeah.
social skills and everything. I'm excited. This is our first year because we're finally renting a house, right? We have a yard and a
Right.
front door. It's our first year doing candy, and I'm gonna try to be like you, Ray. I'm gonna go to buy Five Below so I can get like Pokemon cards or like cool little action figures to
Oh,
also give
yeah,
out for
no.
certain kids.
Yeah, because you know what, the quantity of people trick or treating now, at least in our my neighborhood, is becoming less and less. It's a little.
Yeah.
We
it's a little
literally,
sad.
Anne was so excited when we moved into our house. Because she loves giving out candy. We didn't have one kid come to our house last year.
Really, we're the only house on our street that's decorated, so I feel like it's not gonna be
See,
great.
have you seen our street?
Yeah,
All
so
decorations
decorated. It's so
everywhere.
adorable.
We
You know
had
what?
no kids.
I love it.
You know what? Fuck all you assholes.
Oh,
You
okay.
assholes that prevent me.
okay.
I want to go trick or treating. If it wasn't for you judgmental assholes who all look at me funny, I would get dressed up. I would go trick or treating. I wish I could. So let the teenagers
Just
do it.
walk,
Also-
just walk up on your knees. They'll think you're a kid.
Also, I hated candy corn.
Oh, I hated candy corn.
Well, back in the day when I was
Hated
younger,
it.
I'm actually starting to feel it now.
Dude,
I'm feeling that candy now.
This is just me trying to make a boozy event out of anything. There was a little graphic going around from Wine Enthusiast of candy, cheese, and wine pairings, and they've got like candy corn with some white wines that I went, all right, mommy can do this.
You know what area goes off, and probably it's closer to you,
Mm-hmm.
is like around Toluca Lake proper.
Oh yeah,
That area goes off.
They're
You have to
nuts.
drive like 5 miles an hour because there's so many people in the area.
dude, Glendale too.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Wild.
since most of our viewers don't live around any of these areas,
Lake, guys, you
we
all
can
know.
dispense
You
with the
know.
location advice.
Candy corn, you
All right,
know.
we're almost out of time, so let's just take one more.
All right. Well, Jai CSC says, well, it wasn't Matthew Broderick.
Sorry. man.
But enjoy
man.
season 4.
Yeah, have
I
fun
love
with
it.
All right, you know what? Let's do one more.
All right. Dal says, hi, John and crew. Love the show. Keep it up. My question is, do you think that Marvel should have waited to reveal RDJ as Doom like they waited for Toby and Andrew Spider-Man roles to be revealed in theaters?
No.
In my opinion, I think they revealed it way too soon. Anyway, keep up the amazing work.
No, they did not. It was perfect. The reason being is there's been a window of time because remember, prior to Deadpool and Wolverine, Marvel had been seeing the perception, whether it was true or not, it's irrelevant. The perception had been Marvel is in decline. Right? That's been the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did was they came out with Deadpool and Wolverine, this amazing Comic-Con presentation, bringing out RDJ, then a really good presentation at D23 as well. And then put out Agatha, and now the entire narrative's changed again. Right? And I think by announcing, and by the way, do you think there is any possibility the world wasn't going to know that RDJ was going to play this soon? There are so many people that would have to know, and then that would have gotten out.
He's friends with Tom Holland.
Yes. So eventually somebody was going to find out soon, and then it would get out not under Disney's control, but instead Disney controlled the narrative. They brought out the platform, and guess what? The world talked about it. And yeah, it was absolutely 1000% the right thing for them to do. No doubt about it. All right, guys. And that's all of our time today for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. So, for the people in the room with me, Ray Ora,
See you guys tomorrow.
Jonathan Voico,
See you later.
Chris Carr,
See you Friday.
my name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.